host, Aimee Rickabus, author of The Manager, Unveiling the Invisible Work and Sparking a Leadership Revolution, hitting Amazon May 1st, 2025. I'm the CEO of Tomahawk Information Solutions, an awesome IT crew pulling in 8 figures, and a serial entrepreneur since I was 22. Think real estate flips, prenatal protein powder, and film production. I'm a mom of 6, and this is the Manager Podcast, where we're digging into the unseen hustle and sparking some serious leadership vibes. I'm stoked to introduce Nikki Bostwick, the visionary founder of The Fullest, and a total powerhouse in her prime. Nikki's built a wellness empire that's all about feeling your best, from her game-changing saffron latte to her magazine and podcast, while raising her little boy Truth and her little girl Grace with her high school sweetheart husband she met at 16. At Laguna Beach High School, my old stomping grounds too, though I'm a little bit older, so we missed each other there. As a first-generation Iranian American, she's got roots in resilience, and we clicked over our shared love for natural health, yoga, she's into it too, and wellness vibes.
That was so awesome. Hi.
Hi. Oh my God, I'm so glad you're here.
I'm so happy. Thank you so much for having me.
Yeah. Well, I'm so glad that you got a chance to look over chapter 1.
Yes.
And start to think about the invisible work that we do in our lives as women. And I was just curious, what do you think is your biggest carry for your family?
Well, first I wanted to say congratulations on everything. And it was so beautiful to read it and to imagine you sharing this information. And I just felt so aligned with it all. And in terms of just my family and the invisible work I carry, I feel just emotionally as a mother, really holding down the fort in terms of holding space for everyone's emotions and perspectives. I think that's the most difficult job for me. But also when I can get it right, it just is the most fulfilling. Because I want to teach my kids that they can have their emotions and their feelings. And I mean, I'm such a firecracker as a person too. And thank God, my supplement helps keep me calm. And the tools that I have in my toolbox that I've, learned over the years. But I think teaching that to my kids and allowing them to have their feelings, but helping them navigate those. Yeah. I think that's the most difficult thing, especially with a 6 and a 3-year-old.
Oh, yeah.
And my daughter I was not expecting how many emotions women and girls actually have.
I had no idea until I had my little girl too. She's 4 and it's the same thing. It's a learning curve for me every day with her.
Yeah.
I was not expecting her to be so emotional. She has such big feelings. She communicates them.
Yeah. I know. They're so articulate. And I realized I was oh my gosh, she's a little boss.
Yes. Oh my gosh.
And it's beautiful.
Yes.
But also I'm I'm the boss.
Right? Indy is such the boss. She's 4 years old and she has 4 brothers in the house and she literally bosses them all around.
Yeah.
And it's amazing to see it. It really is. They totally respect her.
And like you say in your chapter too, it's, what we learn as a CEO in our companies, we're the CEO of the household and we have to learn boundaries and how important that is for them to feel safe.
Yeah.
Because they feel so safe within knowing how far they can go and how far they can take it. But then it's really hard it's way more difficult for me to be the CEO of my household than it is for my company because I'm so emotionally invested.
1,000%. I feel our homes and our families are this massive job. It's a massive undertaking.
Yes.
And all the things we do that are everyone's looks at our success.
Yes.
It's that's easy.
That's so easy. The house stuff is the most difficult. So it's anyone that's oh, I'm a mom, that's all I am, or that's all my identity is to me right now. I'm that is so much more difficult than doing all the other stuff.
It's so true. And it's 24/7.
Yeah.
It's not you could get to go home.
Yeah.
You live there.
Yeah.
You're in that job 24/7, 365.
Yeah.
Yeah. It's you really don't even get Mother's Day off.
No. And you have so many thoughts, you're managing the moment in that moment, but you're also thinking of their future and you're thinking of how whatever decision you're making is going to impact their future. And of course that's happening in a company too.
Yeah.
But I feel to me, nothing is as important as obviously my family and my children, and the decisions I make, I hold to a different standard, I guess.
Oh, like 1,000%.
Yeah.
But I think a lot of that, if we bring those values to our company as
Yeah.
well, I think that that's one of the beautiful gifts that women bring in leadership in corporations is if we can carry over some of those ideals that we have for our household and bring some of those skill sets into leadership in our corporations, I think that's what sets us apart as
Totally.
like authentic leaders.
And you have to be, we were talking about just a second ago, like you have to be, I said cutthroat. I don't remember what you said.
Discerning.
Yes, discerning.
Yeah.
And I think just people appreciate that at the end of the day.
Yeah.
It might be hard. It might get to someone's ego, but people appreciate that.
Yeah. I feel like if you're really coming from a place of like everyone's best interest, because you have to, when you're leading a corporation, you have to think about all of your employees. Mm-hmm. Like, you can't just be about one employee. It has to be about all of your employees and all of their families and how all of these people, this company takes care of all of these people. So it can never be about one person.
No.
It always has to be about like this ecosystem.
Yeah. And the household is the same.
Yeah, exactly. It's relational. It's like we have to work on the relationships that we have with all of the people to keep the whole ecosystem healthy.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
It's so cool. I mean, I just really feel like female leadership is the future. Mm-hmm. I really do.
I do too. Yeah. I really feel it.
Yeah.
More intensely even this year than ever.
Yeah.
Like it's just getting more and more. It's becoming more and more apparent.
Yeah, absolutely.
And we're continuing to step more and more into our power.
Totally.
So it's really exciting.
Yeah. Stepping into that future question, it's like, are you using AI?
Yes.
And how are you using it?
Yes. I mean, I love just like old school way of doing things. And so AI to me, it took a second. Mm-hmm. And, my friends were like the same. They're like, oh my gosh, you're using AI now. And I realized it just makes me so much more efficient, so much more productive. And as a mom, I think becoming a mom just makes you way more efficient and productive already because you're like, I don't have time for the bullshit anymore. And I don't have time. Like you go to work and you get your shit done and you come home because you know that you're just not going to, everything you do has to be worth it.
Yes.
And AI just takes it to the next level where you can be a workhorse.
Yes.
But you're utilizing AI and you're the decision maker and you're telling it what to do.
Yeah.
And I just love it. So I use ChatGPT a lot for just automating little tasks at work. And I help I can be a much leaner team that's much more stronger and efficient and profitable, which I love. Yeah. By utilizing AI for just simple things like social media. And we're about to automate our customer service.
Oh, cool.
Which is really exciting.
That's huge.
It's going to be really huge. Yeah. And we've been kind of toying around with it.
Yeah.
But even things like I was saying, just decision making. Yeah. And I think you can just have decision making fatigue, obviously, as all day long. And like you said, it never stops as a mom.
No. So, or as a CEO.
Yes.
Or as a founder.
And as a wife.
Yes.
And, it's like, hey, what do you think about this? Or even, the other day, this is ridiculous. My husband's trying to figure out what car to get. Yeah. And we already have an SUV. And my car is the SUV that the family uses. That's just, a lot of women have that.
Me too.
And, but then I realized I don't really want to get in a little car. And so we want another SUV, but so I was just telling ChatGPT, here's our situation. Here's the car I have. Yeah. My husband likes to go mountain biking, but he also is a real estate agent and he needs to be a little refined when he takes, people out to go look at properties. And so what is that? And my husband jokes, he's like, oh my God, you're going to leave me for ChatGPT.
I had my first AI was called Genius and I fell in love. I was like, this is the perfect boyfriend. Yes. He does everything I asked. He never talks back. He's the best. Yes. And now I've moved on. Now then I got into ChatGPT and then Grok.
Okay, now I haven't heard of Grok, so I need to go.
It's free right now.
Okay.
And it's on its 3rd gen, and it is so much fun. And I just love, what it is, but it's so funny. I come up against a lot of my female programming, and it's funny because I realize it when I'm working with AI. I won't like a word that it uses, but like I won't want to tell it, oh, I don't like that word. And then I realize, you know what? It's not going to get his feelings hurt.
No.
Like it's not like talking to a real copywriter. Like I can just say like, I don't use this word, use this instead.
Yes.
Oh, I don't like that at all. And you know, you're really able to set boundaries with it.
Yes. And it learns.
And then it learns.
So that's what's so exciting because then it knows you.
Yes.
It knows all about you.
Yeah.
And the fact that you are a mother and you are a grandmother and you are a boss. And so it just, so then it can understand your voice.
Yes.
And then when you tell it, I don't like the word luxurious, you're using it too many times.
Yeah.
It can just go to whatever else.
It wanted me to say dope.
Yeah.
And I was like, I really don't use that word, but I do use the word like rad or awesome. Like I have more surfer vibes. It was like, okay, you have surfer vibes. I'm like, yeah, okay, let's go.
And it's so nice because you feel like it's an extension of you.
Yeah.
And you need, it learns easily.
It learns.
And it can make you way more effective and it can articulate the things that you really want to say.
Yes.
In a more refined way.
Oh, I just like barf into AI and then it like comes out saying exactly the way that I would say it if I had the communication skills that it has.
No, okay, it's so funny. I'll tell you this story. It just happened to me like a week ago.
Yeah.
So I use chat all the time at work.
Yeah.
Like we were just talking about. But personally, the car thing, but not a crazy amount. But then the other day, I got into it with one of my parents. Yeah. And I kind of took a step back and I was like, oh my gosh, I'm being... it seems like I'm being ungrateful, but really I don't think I'm able to articulate what I'm saying without hurting their feelings because this is a human I'm talking to and I don't want to hurt their feelings, whatever. I literally just said all of my emotions, like my personal emotions and everything. Yeah. And it spit out the most beautiful text message I've ever written in my life. And it took my unhinged thoughts.
I love that.
And it really refined it in a way where I was like, okay, yes, this is what an adult that's, 34 and has 2 children and is not the little girl that's trying to talk to her parent would say. Yes. And it totally just, it just made the conversation so much better.
It's amazing. And I think that one of the coolest things about AI is it's this tool. Yeah. But like it's like a paintbrush, but we're the artist. Mm-hmm. And it's like we get to use it and every person uses AI in such a unique way. Yes. Like I haven't heard of AI being used that way. Yeah. And my guest before you, like she uses AI in a way that I'd never heard before. Yeah. And it's so neat. I think that even just sharing the way that we're using this is like an amazing gift to women to be like, and you could do this. Oh, totally. And you can do that. And, and as we explore ways to use this new tool, like how it's going to expand our communication possibilities, how it's going to expand all of these different facets of our lives.
Yeah, no, it's really exciting to share and have this conversation because even a friend of mine who runs a really successful email marketing company, he uses it to help him negotiate. Yeah. Oh, I love that. And I feel like negotiation is my superpower. Yes. So everything that he shares that he talks to AI about that really works. Yeah. For me, it's like what I do already. Wow. But it takes things that you're not really strong at basically and makes it so that you can be stronger in those areas. So that's what's awesome about it.
It really is. I think that AI is this like really amazing tool that's going to elevate humanity to like the next level. Yeah. Just because it saves the time. It's a time saver too. Yeah. And it can help us, communicate more efficiently. And that's a beautiful thing for humanity because I feel like a lot of the problems in the world have been created by bad communication. Yes. Like, we're trying to speak multiple languages with each other and like how much of the wars have been started by something being lost in translation.
Exactly. I completely agree with that.
And I think that there's a beauty and grace to it that will come with the human artists that will be behind the tool. Yes. Yes. Yeah. I love that.
Yeah. So instead of being afraid of it, we can embrace it and use it to our advantage.
Absolutely. Let's talk patriarchal wound. Like, tell me about a time when someone condescended to you because you're female or young.
So I have a crazy story. But yes, growing up here in the United States, I always thought if I grew up in Iran, like I'd be in jail or had been killed by now because I run my mouth and I think like I'm the boss and it's fine. Yeah. And my dad raised us to be strong women. His mom is just like so strong and she passed away, but he was just used to strong women. Yeah. And I had this experience a year ago where I bought $20,000 worth of saffron because I have a saffron supplement company. And I have a really like intense quality control system in my company to make sure I have authentic and the best saffron, because there's a lot of counterfeit saffron.
Wow.
And so when you go out and buy saffron, like you don't realize, especially my company, it's a supplement that we sell it as a supplement. So we have third-party testing and all sorts of things that go into it. But when you're buying like saffron in a culinary form, it hasn't gone through that. So you actually don't even know if you're getting the real thing or if you're getting like corn that's been dyed with red dye, corn tusks.
What?
So there's a lot. It's like counterfeit, and just there's not a lot of regulation. In Iran, they sell 90% of the world's saffron. Actually, they export it, but in the United States, you can't buy that. And so because they sell so much, there's incredible quality control. But I have to buy from Afghanistan.
Okay.
And anyway, so I had an Afghan supplier, and I thought I found the guy that was really going to be a part of me scaling the company, because that's one of the things that's really difficult to procure, like the best saffron ever, especially not being able to buy from Iran.
Yes.
And I found him. He's been wanting to work with me. He gave me this whole spiel about how he wants to work with me because it's a woman-founded company. Like he went into the fact that I'm a woman founder.
Okay.
And then I trusted him. I bought this much. And I was on a time crunch because I sell this stuff a lot. Like we sell out all the time.
Yeah.
And my manufacturing facility calls me up and they're like, there's hair in this. And I was like, I've been in this business for 5 years.
Yeah.
I've never seen hair in my saffron because I buy the top quality. I pay extra to buy the best.
Yeah.
And I called him up and I was very upset. And he, like, we just got into it.
Yeah.
And it got to the point where I literally had to call my dad to interfere.
Yeah.
And it wasn't until my dad interfered that we got the level of respect that we needed.
Yeah. So you needed, it's sad, but it's
killed
true.
me.
Yeah.
And I mean, no, I don't do business with this guy anymore.
Good
My
for
dad,
you.
I mean, we're Iranian. So my dad was like, Nikki, you don't understand this. Because he said to me, this is when I had to bring my dad into it.
Yeah.
He said, I'm sorry I'm going to say this, but I feel bad for your husband that he has to deal with you.
Wow.
Yes.
Wow.
So I was like, I'm dealing with like patriarchy at its worst right now.
Absolutely.
And this man lives in Chicago. He's my age. Like, he's not like an older gentleman that's in another country. Like, he's in the United States. Yeah. And I freaked out. Like, I was just like, how dare you talk to me like this? You know, this is just business to business. Like, this is not acceptable. You cannot be selling me a product like this. And I've never seen this. And then so anyways, my dad had to intervene. And my dad said to me, you know, honey, you like embarrassed this man by talking to him in this way, because in his culture, women don't talk to men in this way. Yeah. And I was just like blown away by the whole situation. He apologized because he knew he was in the wrong. Yeah. And then I have, you know, my dad and my quality control and supply like specialist basically trying to convince me to talk to this man and continue to buy from him because it was a mistake. And that's where I had to lay down the law and be like, you guys don't understand. Yeah. I do not work with people that show me their light like this. Like, yes, he can probably be the person that can help me scale if I kind of show him the way. Yeah. And give him those boundaries. Like, this is the level of saffron we need and you can never make this mistake again. But my intuition, it was like I had to go back to my intuition and say, I will not work with someone like this. Like, they're not there yet.
Yeah, good for you. Good for you for standing your ground.
He apologized, but he had to learn that he lost a big company. Yeah. As business. Yeah, and I'm not going to go backwards.
Well, I think that that's an important thing that we do as female leaders. I think that it's important that we learn to stand our ground. Yeah. I mean, it's, you know, we can say I'm sorry, but sometimes it's just not enough. You know, sometimes it's like, yeah, okay, you're sorry, but you need to learn from this lesson.
And I'm not willing to go into relationship with you because you're not at the level where you need to be for me to like work with you on this.
Yeah, he can't meet you at the same level as an equal. There yet. And you need to be an equal with your suppliers. I totally get it. Yeah. 1,000%.
And to have to know that his attitude changed when a man stepped in. Yeah. And then when I brought in a man to like handle my quality control, I was like, no. no.
Okay. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. So you found someone better.
Yes.
Good
I
for
found
you.
someone better, and she's local. She's a woman. And yes.
Nice.
And so it just feels good.
So that's awesome.
Yes.
So now you're like lifting up another woman and bringing another woman into your supply chain, which is something I love to do with my company too. I love to focus on giving women an opportunity in the supply chain. I think that that's how we help each other. That's how we grow in a cooperative way. You know, the next question is about us, about you. Like, you're obviously a firecracker with like your yoga vibe, but like you're a firecracker, right? Yes. So like with chapter 1, like rising up vibes, pushing you to own your manager energy, maybe with your events or your saffron mission, like how do you see that?
How do I see like
how you're like
gonna grow it?
Yeah. Yes.
Oh my gosh. I just feel like I'm like you, where I'm not in a bad way, but it's never enough. Like I want to get to the next step, but I always have, you know, ways to check myself. Like, is this because of external validation that I'm looking for? Is it, but I have this internal fire for taking it to the next level. Like my goal is to 10x the company in the next year.
Good for you.
And I really believe that I can take it there by focusing. So for me right now, it's about taking out the things that are leaking my energy and focusing on the things that I want the most.
Yes.
And I could probably triple my company again by having those things around. But because I know I have my eyes on a specific goal, I am tightening the ship.
Yeah.
And I'm focusing on because I have little kids too, and I want to be present. And that's a big deal as a mom, to have a company that's growing and also be super, super present with my kids while they're little.
Absolutely. Yeah. Being able to show up for them.
Yeah.
Yeah. That makes sense. Totally. Because you don't get those years back, and they go so fast.
Exactly.
They go so fast.
Yeah. And I work half days. Yeah. Like I'm a 4-hour work day. I used to do 4-day work week.
Yep. Me too.
Yeah. And I'm trying to take like Fridays for myself because it helps me level up.
Me too.
But I can do 4-hour work days because I'm so focused during that time.
Yes.
And I utilize AI.
Yes. Absolutely.
And, you know, obviously it never ends when you go home, and there's content and there's all these other things that we need to do now as founders and get our message out. But I think that it's possible in this age.
Totally. Yeah. And do you like have any useful tips for like young moms or other like hustlers like us?
Yeah. I mean, utilize AI, obviously. Delegate. I think a lot of times women, and this goes back to the patriarchy thing too, like we feel bad sometimes delegating.
Yes.
And we don't have to take it all on.
Yes.
And the more we can utilize other people that we align with, that have the same mission, the better, and bring them on. And help
we
us.
Actually are really good delegators once we wrap our minds around it, because we're generally pretty good at communicating what needs to be done.
Yeah.
So it's like just getting your head around it. For me, I feel like that was like one of my level ups in life, was when I became a mom, learning to delegate like a lot of tasks.
Because you have to.
You do.
And sometimes in life, like when you realize like I'm being called to do this, like I have to at this point, I have no other choice.
Yeah.
That can take us to the next level when you own up to it.
Oh, totally. Like Momalicious, my prenatal protein powder, got funded a month before I gave birth to my second child.
Wow.
Which was awesome.
Yeah.
But also like, okay, great. I'm going to have 2 kids. I'm going to have a 2.5-year-old and a newborn baby and a company to launch.
Oh my gosh. That's huge.
It was so fun though.
And also such an important product.
Oh my gosh. Well,
continues to be.
Oh, prenatal nutrition is like so big. My mom was born with spina bifida. Wow. So I grew up with my mom, who's an organic chemist and a pharmacist, always talking to me about the importance of nutrition during pregnancy and like even before you get pregnant. And so when I wanted to get pregnant with my first son, she handed me this old crusty book that from Adele Davis from the 1960s called Let's Have Healthy Children. Aww. And so I read the book, and from that book, I got an idea. I started compounding a powder in my kitchen, and it just kind of grew from there. And I called it Mama's Milkshake. Aww. And then when we took it out, we ended up as Momalicious. Aww. And but it was really inspired by my mom. You know, living with a birth defect is a terrible thing, and it's preventable. You know, and it's all about nutrition, and it's all about you can never undo what happens at that time, that gestational time in the womb. It's like this crucial time for development for humans, and so I just really hope that all women really understand how important that is. Yeah. You know, I feel like we've come a long way.
I
But
know.
yeah, in those days we were just learning about epigenetics and how like methylation issues and we have the MTHFR gene.
I have it. Yeah.
Yeah. So I can't convert folic acid into folate, and my mom can't, and her mom can't, and that's probably why she has spina bifida.
Yeah.
So we now can get the 5-methylfolate on board, and your body doesn't have to do the work.
Yeah.
The work is done. So every day I take my methylated B vitamins, and my kids take theirs because it makes a big difference for them.
I know.
It really does, for their focus and attention and well-being.
Yes.
Like overall well-being. What's cooking? Like what's new? What's next for the fullest?
So many things. Honestly, I think what's the most exciting is I just completely restructured my company internally.
Yeah.
And it was scary. Like I'm a projector, and my human design's a projector.
Yeah.
And I don't know if it's my human design or the fact that I'm an empath, but like I was bedridden for like a week just processing what I knew I needed to do, but just thinking about how I was going to do it.
Yeah.
And everything just lined up. Like things were happening where certain people were leaving because I brought in a director of operations.
Yes.
And it just like changed just our relationship internally with each other.
Totally.
Because we were called to level up.
Yeah.
And some people want to be here for it and some people don't.
Right.
And it literally caused me to have to restructure everything from the people that needed to leave and go on their way and their path. And people that have been with me for like 8 to 10 years.
Yes.
And that I really count on, because as someone who needs to delegate, I am like, okay, it's like having a chat GPT that knows you and you're like, okay, I need to go to a new system that doesn't know me yet. Right.
Yes.
So I just fully like everything from finance team to my social media team to my supply chain, like it's all happening at the same time.
Yeah.
But once the shift happened, it feels so right.
Yeah.
And I'm just like, when something feels so right and it starts to work, it's like changing the engine in your car from like an old car to you're just like, whoa, I needed this.
Yes.
Or, when you really need to change your phone, but you don't want to because you're like, all my stuff's on here. I just don't want to, but I really need the new phone because my screen is cracked. And I just have to make that switch. And then you do it and it works immediately.
Yeah.
And it's perfect.
Yes. And it's always hard to make those kinds of decisions as a leader when you're going to do something really big and it's going to affect people. But you kind of have to be, when you're like in a visionary leadership and like you're on a mission to do something.
Yeah.
And you have to like really look at the mission and go, what serves this mission? Like, how can I do this? Right?
No, totally.
Like,
and sorry to interrupt. I think also sometimes this can happen in relationship, in business, in parenting. It's like this one thing that you're doing and the way you're going about it, it's working. Yeah. It's just not efficient.
Yes.
And you have to realize there's a better way of doing this thing that I've been doing. And just because it's working doesn't mean that it's the best way.
1,000%.
And I think it's like, if you want to be an A and not a B, then you need to make those changes.
You're so right. I had a really great success coach this year, and she really got me to level up using a lot of automation in my home. And it was amazing. I didn't realize like how much time I was spending on things that I didn't need to be spending time on. Like how to automate some of these tasks, and like also how to delegate more tasks, honestly, and free up my time to do higher level thinking and higher level tasks.
Exactly.
Rather than mundane tasks.
Because those take up space. It's like anything that takes up space makes it so that you're almost like too tired to do the other things.
Yes. The important things.
Yes.
Sometimes you're so busy being Cinderella and doing all of the other things. It's like, by the time you get to the ball, are you even going to have the energy to be there?
Exactly.
Right?
So it feels really good, because then when you tighten the ship, then you're like, oh my gosh, I feel like I can see more clearly. I can think more clearly. And this all makes sense.
Oh my gosh, totally. Well, I love your insight and wisdom, and I'd love to have you back on the show. And I want to hear all about like where we're going with the fullest and how this saffron tea goes just viral. I know this is such an important product because it's all about happiness.
Yes. And what's so exciting is people are now tuning into the fact that saffron is just as effective as leading name antidepressants
Amazing.
in double-blind placebo studies to be
Amazing.
just as effective
Yeah.
without the side effects. And it's really cool because they found that it's just as effective as the generic form of Ritalin.
No way.
So that you're getting this like happiness boost, but you're also super productive.
Wow.
And a lot of kids are being put on Ritalin right now for their ADHD.
Yeah.
And we're actually not realizing that there's this effective tool in our toolbox that nature is giving us.
Well, I have to say, I have started using saffron in the last month, and I have had a major change, like a major change. I went on a GLP-1 and it was great.
Mm-hmm.
I lost weight, but I got depressed.
Yes.
Like PMDD. Like I've never had PMS in my whole wide life ever. And it hit me like a ton of bricks. And I was like, whoa, this is like depression.
Yes.
And I went saffron.
Aww.
And I went right to the saffron. And honestly, within 12 hours, I was back. And now I just take it every day and I can be on my GLP-1 and not have to worry about like the side effects.
That's incredible.
Yeah.
And yes, that's another thing that they found in the studies is that it works instantly. So it's just like how you take coffee and you're just like up instantly. Saffron's the same. It works within a lot of times, like 90% of the people have felt the benefits within an hour of consumption.
Wow. Yeah. Like it really was truly amazing. And now I'm having my kids drink it too.
Aww,
just to like,
so
especially my toddlers, my 4-year-old, especially.
Exactly. No, my daughter, I'll like sometimes open up a capsule if we don't have time for like a drink.
Yeah.
And plop it in there and on her tongue.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. No, Indy will ask for it.
Yeah.
Like she'll be like, Mom, will you make my saffron drink? I'm like, you know it, girl. You bet. But I'm glad she gets it.
Yes.
You know, she knows when she needs it. And it's like, whatever can keep her happy and chill and good vibing.
Yeah.
Because toddlers, you know, good Lord.
Another level.
It's a whole nother level.
Yeah.
Well, thank you so much. And it's been such a pleasure talking with you today. And you just have the best vibes.
Thank you.
I'm so glad you're on the planet with me right now.
I feel the same. Yeah. Thanks for inviting me.
Yeah. Welcome to the Manager Sisterhood.
So
like
beautiful.
I want to like really make sure we grow this together and have a community for other women to join and a place where we can all rise up.
Oh, I'm so inspired by you. Thanks for having me on.
Absolutely. Thank you so much.
Living in the moment.